How you all doing? Good. My name's Dwayne. Everybody say, hey, Dwayne. Hey, Dwayne. Good to see you guys. We're going to do a thing called a 3-read protocol. Does anybody see a word you can't quite read, either because of your angle, or you can't read it because you're too far away? Adults, the reason we do that is we want to make sure we are taking care of any cultural things. The other day I was doing a 3-read and a student needed to raise his hand and say, what's a craft fair? And so we had to talk about a craft fair. It had nothing to do with the problem, but it was important to him. And he needed to know what a craft fair was in order to focus on the math. This is called a 3-read protocol, which means we're going to read it 3 times. The first time I'm going to read it all by myself with my words. I want you to follow along with your eyes. Keep your mouth closed. Okay, here we go. It took 2 days for Catalina to paint her room. She used 1 3/4 gallons on Friday. Then she used 1.5 gallons on Saturday. With your partner, I want you to the two of you to talk about, what is this story about? What is this story about? Talk with your partners. Go. Raise your hand and tell me, what is the problem about? What is this story about? Let's talk about this. What is this story about? Yes, ma'am.
They're painting the room.
So it's about painting the room. What else is this story about? Yes?
It's about Catalina painting the room.
It's about Catalina painting a room. Good. What else is this story about? Yes?
How long does it take?
About time. How long does it take her? We're going to read it a second time. This time, we're going to read it in unison as a whole class as we read this. So let's go. It took
2 days for Catalina to paint her room. She used 1 3/4 gallons on Friday. Then she used 1.5 gallons on Saturday.
Beautiful. With your same partners, I want you to identify all the different quantities you see in this story. Quantity is another way of saying amounts. What are all the different amounts or quantities you see in this story? Go. Hands up. What is a quantity in this story problem? What is an example of a quantity or an amount, if you're not sure what the word quantity is? What's an amount or a quantity in the story? Yeah, Lucy, I just talked to you. Say 1 3/4. So we got 1 3/4. Now, technically speaking, 1 3/4 right now is a number. It's not a quantity yet. It becomes a quantity when we attach a label to it. 1 3/4 something. So Lucy, do you have a suggestion for what label we should attach to 1 3/4? 1 3/4 gallons. Okay. Now we have a quantity. Good. Hands up. Another quantity in this story. Another quantity in this story. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Go ahead.
2 days.
2 days. Beautiful. Another quantity. Another quantity. Yes, sir. 1 1/2 gallons. Audience, did you notice they are now repeating the idea of a quantity? They are now giving me numbers and labels automatically. So they are now, the role modeling we done, they are now copying. And that's exactly what we wanted. A lot of our teaching can be done through role modeling, not through teaching. Any other quantities in this problem? Any other quantities? Is that a hand? Yeah? Gallons. So we've got just gallons. So we've got some unknown number of gallons, right? Gallons, but there's some unknown number of gallons. Good. Anybody else? Okay. Audience, I don't normally do this with kiddos, but I'm going to do this now because I need to teach you something, okay? So guys, these are all called explicit quantities. They're called explicit quantities because this says 1 3/4, there's 1 3/4. This says 2 days, and right here's 2 days. So those are called explicit quantities because they are actually mentioned in the problem. There's another kind of quantity called implicit quantities or implied quantities. quantities that you know are in the story but aren't actually mentioned. For example, how many Catalinas do we have in this story? One. So we have one Catalina. That's called an implied quantity. Because nowhere does it say, by the way, guys, we have one Catalina. It's just an implied quantity. So with those new eyeballs, looking for implied quantities, does anybody see maybe another implied quantity that you might see? Talk with your partner. What's an implied quantity you might see? What's an implied quantity you might see? All right, here we go. What's a possible implied quantity that we see up here? I mean, it's kind of a weird question to ask. Yes, sir?
1 room.
Yeah, we have one room. We have one room. Do we have any other implied quantities? Ah, look at this. A lot of hands. Yes, ma'am? So we only have one Saturday. You hit a home run because somebody went, ooh. You go, girl. All right. Any other implied quantities? Boy, say, oh my gosh. See, the adults in the room thought we were done, didn't you? And the kids disagree with you. This is awesome. Yes, sir, way in the back.
One Friday.
So we got one Friday, right? All right. Now that we get into the implied quantities, this could take a day and a half, just this list alone. So I'm gonna call it to a close, pull it to a close. We're gonna read this question a third and final time. We're gonna read it in unison again. You guys did a pretty good job reading it together last time. Let's do it even better this time. So let's go.
It took 2 days for Catalina to paint her room. She used 1 3/4 gallons on Friday. Then she used 1.5 gallons on Saturday.
Good, ladies and gentlemen, with your same partners, you'll notice this story has no question. There's no question mark. So we don't know what we're supposed to solve. So I want you and your partner to come up with a question that we're supposed to solve. Come up with something that involves a question mark. Go. What's a possible question? There are so many possible questions that could go with this story. So many. So what's a possible question we could ask for this story? A possible question. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
The question we can ask is how many gallons does she use in all?
Okay, so how many gallons did she use in all? Did she use in all? Another possible question that now some of you, your hands, I could see you all went, oh, she stole mine. Well, keep coming up with other questions. There's so many possible questions. So if that one got taken, come up with another one. Y'all could do it. You can do it. Yes?
How much gallons were left?
So how many gallons were left when she was done? Were left when she finished. Is that okay to say it that way? Okay, good. Another possible question. Yes, ma'am.
I forgot.
Oh, okay, no worries. I saw the panic as I was getting ready to call you. You went, no, never mind. Good. If you come up with it, you just raise your hand again. I'll put you in the front of the list. Yes. How much paint did she use in all? How much paint did she use in all? These are all good questions. We might answer a bunch of them, but let's start. Who did this one? Tell me your name. Alea. How do you spell that?
A-L-A-Y-A.
A-L-A-Y-A. Cool. So let's begin by working on Alea's question. All right, so I'm going to read the whole story complete with Alea's question. So it took 2 days for Catalina to paint her room. She used 1 3/4 gallons on Friday. She used 1.5 gallons on Saturday. How many gallons did she use in all? That's the question we're going to work on. Brenda, do they work on their tables? Is that how I'm reading it correctly? Now listen, wait. When I say go, so don't move until I say go. I'm going to give you a bunch of directions. When I say go, you're going to get your marker, you're going to work on their table. That's so cool. And I want a minute of pure silence. And during that minute of pure silence, I want you to do whatever you need to do to solve Alea's question. You might draw pictures, you might use numbers, your pictures might be circles, your pictures might be tape. It does not matter, but for a minute, I want you to work on this problem in pure silence. Go.